Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's kind of funny how things from the past come back, or we realize how beneficial they were. Hey, styles come back. Like, for example, wallpaper is now popular interior design. It was big, back in the 70s and 60s with your grandmother or whatever. Even fashion, bell bottoms are back. That was the 70s. Well, what about herbal medicine? It's having a thing now, but interestingly, this plant type medicine is where our current medicine came from. And now more and more people are looking at a more holistic way of life when it comes to remedies. We're going to look at that. Herbals and how it can support you and what it all means. She is somebody that's got insight in all of this. Here's the difference: intuitive insight. She's a medical intuitive. And we're going to talk with her once again. Dr. Gloria Warren, our professional of the year, is back. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
You're fantastic. And
Great.
when we say intuitive, what are we talking here? You are somebody that can help give insight through your intuition into somebody's medical situation. And I've seen it in action. You've done it for me. It's pretty amazing. You even told me things that I wasn't even aware of. And then that weekend they popped up. It's not like I asked them to. Little things, no big deal. But you said, you're probably going to have a problem with this. You're going to have a problem with that. Using your intuition, not a substitute for traditional doctor, call it more of a tool. So today we focus on this thing called herbal remedies, right? How do you define that?
Right. Well, herbal remedies are things that grow naturally in nature. And one of the things I do want to stress is I work with physicians. And I can work separately from physicians, but I do give all the information to the patient so they can take it back to their physician, or they can make those decisions on their own to a certain degree. So what I do is medically, I have a medical background as well as I'm an herbalist and herbologist as well. There is a difference. I study Chinese medicine, rainforest medicine, Native American medicine. This is like one of my loves of life. I just
Wow.
love delving into historical past and seeing what they did centuries ago and what worked then and maybe apply it now. Things are wonderful, but a simple thing people can work on themselves is herbalism. And being an herbalist and herbologist is a step further than an herbalist, but anyone can begin learning about being an herbalist by studying natural medicines in nature. So, in a simple thing, aspirin, derivative from the willow bark. Native Americans would take the willow bark and simmer it and boil it and then drink the liquid, which then the compounds they needed were in the liquid. So, it's simplified when it comes to natural medicines. So, there's things that you can look at, such as say if you're having a bladder problem, there's juniper seeds, they grow everywhere. You can collect it as long as you know that they haven't been sprayed with pesticides and they're not poisoned in that sense. You can take it, you can crush up a few, put them in your tea. And corn silk, another thing, if you know somebody growing corn organically without pesticides or chemical sprays as fertilizers, you can take that corn silk. That's Native American once again. Corn silk tea, great for bladder infections. Not a complete substitute, but it may work on most bladder infections. So things that boost your energy. And in today's world, we know everybody needs that from time to time when we go to reach for that coffee or real strong tea. Me personally, I use yerba mate tea that I get from a monastery in South America. It is absolutely phenomenal, very high caffeine, helps with a lot of other ailments as well as energy. You can use sage, you can use peppermint, you can use ginseng. There's many herbs that can help with energy. And depending on your specific situation, I'm able to list a couple, give you a couple suggestions that would help with that problem, but not hinder you in other ways or harm you in other ways with your own synergy, taking it into account. So That is one of the things I do. I do teach herbalism. I am an herbologist as well, if people wanted to learn that. But my main goal here with all this historical research I do, it's based on historical writings, also based on a lot of nowadays medical research that they've done on these types of natural alternatives and with positive results. So, I mean, if anyone wanted to know a link, I can send you a link that will show you some of those medical research studies, clinical studies with positive effects from different things from gotu kola and dandelion root and walnut husk, things that I actually grow on my own on my land here for medicine to make tinctures and that type of thing. But if you wanted to text me, I can always send you that link and I'll just forward you a link and you can go ahead and look at how some of the medicine today is based on that research, and some of that research shows that these alternative medicine items do work. Many extensive studies on garlic even, and things that you know, sometimes you go on Wikipedia and they'll say, oh, alternative medicine doesn't work. Well, yes, it does, and clinical studies have proved it. So
I never really dug into it until had some digestive issues in the fall. So I consulted before we met with a master herbalist, and she made some suggestions. One of them was drink aloe, but with pulp. So took a while to find it, the ones that, you know, the legit stuff that has pulp. So I found a source for it and, you know, did that. And she made me up a concoction of cat's claw, catnip. Yes, I said catnip, and marshmallow root. And I'm going to say that before I tried this, I was getting kind of close to maybe driving to the hospital. It was getting that bad. I don't know what was going on. Eventually turned out to be gastritis and a little diverticulitis after I, you know, did the scope and everything. And back in the day, you know, 7 years ago ish, I had an ulcer. So I thought, oh, ulcer's back. I tried this natural concoction. A day and a half later, I started feeling way better. 2 to 3 days later, perfectly fine. And
excellent.
yeah, I was on Nexium. I've taken that forever. Wasn't doing anything. All of that stuff. Yeah, wasn't doing anything. And then I since gotten some other things from her for other issues here and there, you know, whatever. The stuff works. It was amazing. I mean, you know, catnip, really? Like a marshmallow root. Well, I'm not even sure what that is, but it worked great.
You know, something to keep in mind for emergencies, a couple pinches of baking soda or a half a teaspoon of baking soda or some bitters and 7-Up. Excellent immediate relief from excessive acid in your stomach. You'll do a lot of belching, but you'll get rid of the pain immediately. But you really need to find the source. What is the actual problem? So you have an emergency thing you can rely on, but then you have to look at what the source is. Things like Nexium and Prilosec and Prevacin, those are what they call proton pump inhibitors.
Yep.
And proton pump inhibitors work great, but only for about 2 weeks at a time. You should not take it. The American Cardiology Association has even stated that only if blood is involved, because it can lead to heart failure in long-term use. So whether it's children taking it or a lot of the trends are children, and you know, it's sad to see, because really they need to look at and see what is the root cause of that problem. So, you know, I mean, there's a place for it in Western medicine, because let me tell you, if you have to go on it for a couple of weeks, it really does help. But I like to stick to more of a natural situation. I have been on a proton pump inhibitor previously, and it did its job. You know, under the oversight of my physician, we decided it was the best thing for me at the time, and it was. But in the pinch, you know, a pinch of baking soda works great.
We don't realize it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
something simple,
we've been programmed to go to the pharmacy and reach
right?
for something because we think that's the best. But I'm going to say here that, you know, those medical professionals that we put up on a pedestal, They have a place. Many are great, but doesn't mean they have all the answers. It doesn't.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. Right.
No, it's all a balance.
You know who has the answer? Us. We know our
Right.
body better than anybody else. And
Your intuition.
your intuition. So, if you're feeling something, you're probably right about it. But of course, we gravitate in other directions because we've been programmed that way. I want the proton pump inhibitor. I want to go to that for a moment. Somebody told me, and the reason we take those is to inhibit the production of acid in our stomachs.
Mhm.
Somebody told me that is, I want to say, pretty proficient in digestion. Told me that that's not what's going on. You don't have enough acid in your stomach, and people are
Right.
taking this, and
Depending on the cause, the root cause. So your stomach could be over secreting acid if you're constipated, or maybe just past your stomach, it's narrowed and swollen and it's not letting the food go through. Your body's natural response is, hey, I'm going to stick more acid out there so that we get this to come through, when it may be a different cause. And the other occasion, though, you'll feel sour stomach, as I call it, and body's not producing enough acid, and that's when people should reach to apple cider vinegar or
Mm,
other acidic type of things to help the digestion.
yeah.
So knowing the root cause is really the most important thing you can do with anything you do with the human body.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the stuff that we don't know. And a lot of times we go to the doctor, symptom, medicine. We're not going to the root cause. We're just, putting a band-aid on it, if you will.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Sometimes the doctors, may not have the time to sit down with you and get to the bottom of this. Um, Lord forbid, but that is a commonplace in today's medical communities. But that's where I come in. If I can find the root cause, put it all down, you can take that to your doctor if you wish, and you can have your doctor, I can put down what the root cause is, they can see it. And then the one thing I have more of, I mean, I'm time limited too, but I try to give the time necessary to a patient if I need. And then they can just take it and the doctor can look it over and say, hey, maybe we should check on this. Let's check on this, whereas maybe he didn't have the time to look over all of that or ask the right questions that he needed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lord knows that one doctor is treating many patients at once through other tentacles, other
Oh,
nurse
yeah.
practitioners and EMPs and things of that nature. So
You're lucky if you have, I think the average is 11 minutes with your doctor, and that's on the plus side. Get them in, get them
and
out.
even that's unusual around my area of the woods.
You're saying that's higher. That number's higher? The 11
Mine
minutes?
is very little. If I'm lucky to get 2 minutes with a doctor if I go into the clinic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's even where you get the most time or more time, I feel, if it's at an urgent care place. But I don't know about you, my insurance, you're paying for it. You're paying way more than you would for your doctor because, it seems like they maybe a little bit more attention, but it all depends on where you are. What's interesting is your medical intuition is the tool. But what we're
mhm.
talking about today is an extension of that, and that's the herbal remedy to take care of what's going on, the root cause of it. And my feeling is, what do you got to lose? I mean, throw me your potions, lotions, and concoctions.
Right.
If it comes from nature and it doesn't conflict with maybe something else you're taking or your overall situation, consult somebody, a medical professional for that. Uh, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Right. Right. Just like I had kidney stones when I was younger, and I've had them since my younger age. I've had them once. I have a tendency of being dehydrated because, like we were saying, the physical exertion dehydrates you faster, and also cultural things add to that,
Sure,
genetics.
sure.
But with the dehydration and getting kidney stones, I decided to go my natural route, which was Chanca Piedra, and they dissolved my kidney stones within 3 days. I never had to go through any extensive procedures or whatnot. So kidney stones, gallstones, and other kidney functions, it may be something you want to reach for first if you're not in dire need pain. Of course, if you are, you go to an emergency room. But if you can hold off a few days and try that and get some relief, you may actually
Hmm.
negate potentially having a type of procedure or surgery of any sort, if necessary.
Yeah. And final thought on all of this. Everything that we're talking about, these concoctions, if you will, have been around for centuries. This was the
Love
medicine
tinctures.
of, right. This was the medicine of the people that we evolved from.
Yes.
And then big pharma came in and big $billion. We won't even go there. That's
There's a place for each of them in society, but
Yeah.
it's just not, leave their places to them, and I deal with more of the natural.
And I'm on your page. Somebody wants to find out more, Gloria. How do they find you?
Well, if they want to text me, it's 715-892-6304. I will send that link if you put link in the text. 715-892-6304. And then they can look at my website at medicalintuitivegloria.com. Simple.
Always amazing talking with you, and learn so
Always
much. Thanks for being here
talking with
today.
you too. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.